Me, Myself, and I is really an exploration into my life, but I think that when you see the show, it really explores a lot of areas that many people that have dealt with. I mean, it deals with drugs and alcohol, it deals with your sexual orientation, so it deals with a lot of different areas. Also deals with the church in terms of how your sexual orientation may be a part of that. So it deals with a lot of different issues. Also deals with music and high school and college and working. So it deals with a lot of areas that we all can deal with in terms of, and we can all relate to in terms of dealing with your life. Well, after my family saw the production, they were taken aback a little bit because we really explored some areas in our lives that were really a lot of people didn't necessarily know about. So at one point, my mom was like, I think you should cut certain things out of the show. And I just said, well, this is how my life was, so I have to express it the way I saw it and the way I remembered it. And so after we've talked about it a few times, she is more content with the way the show is, and she doesn't necessarily want me to cut anything out of it. She just really wants me to produce it and perform it more often because she thinks it really can help other people if they see the show and see how not only my struggles and how I overcame the adversities, but also how the family rallied around me as well. I want them to understand that even though life has adversities in it, it has lots of obstacles and hurdles, that you can get through and over those things, and you can really get to the life that you really want, regardless of the HIV, the drugs, the alcohol. You know, you can still have a productive life if you choose to move forward and actually embrace who you are as an individual and really want to create a future for yourself outside of the drugs and alcohol. I want it to go everywhere. I think it's a great show and I think other people need to see it. But actually, since I'm growing and I'm evolving, I want the show to grow and evolve as well. I want to add other aspects of my life to it, which I want it to get to a point where there are so many aspects of it, I can pick and choose and have the audience even pick and choose as to what type of show they want, which excerpts or which monologues they want to hear. So therefore, as I grow and as I evolve, I want Me, Myself, and I to grow and evolve as well. That I am truthful, I am diligent, and I'm very dedicated to any causes that I believe in. The advocacy work that I do is important because I think that there are so many people out there who know about HIV, but they don't really understand it. I mean, even though AIDS has been around for 30 years now, there are still many people out there who don't understand how it's transmitted. And that's evident in the continuous climb and the continuous rise of HIV infections. We get almost 50,000 people nationwide every year. And in the state of Florida, we get almost 10,000 people that are HIV positive every year. And if people really understood how HIV was transmitted, I think that we would have lower rates of HIV, but also to do prevention education in our school systems and our churches and do more prevention education so that people will understand that putting a barrier between you and your partner can also reduce your risk of HIV infection. And I just think that more people need to understand that if we want to stop the spread of HIV, it's a cause all of us need to be in the fight, not just some of us, but all of us. What's next? I have so many different things that I'm working on. So I want to continue doing Me, Myself, and I, but I also want to do more poetry. I want to write another book. I want to get more involved in my own nonprofit organization. So there are many other facets of myself that I have yet to scratch the surface and bring to the forefront. For me, it's really to educate the gay men that it's not just about sex, but it's about being a whole person. I want gay men to really live an authentic life, to not only look at themselves as a sexual being, but also a part of our community. And you're not just a you're not the total sum of just being a sexual being. You have other facets of who you are, and a lot of times we don't focus on the whole person, we focus in on their sexual orientation. Well, Brothers Speak is an organization, or it's a men's discussion group for Black gay men, and we discuss various topics that deal with being a same-gender loving man, being a Black gay man, but issues that are very specific, being Black. And we discuss those on a weekly basis, and we have lots of different topics that we talk about, so almost anything under the sun is not out of our grasp. We're actually discussing. We have a group in West Palm Beach, we have one in Fort Lauderdale, and one in the Tampa Bay area. So Brothers Speak really is about understanding who you are and really excelling at that and really trying to live in the light and not in the shadows. The Ujima Men's Collective is an organization that really deals with Black gay men, but it's open to all that want to participate. We usually have the same theme every year because I think it's so inclusive of everything, and it's Dare to be Aware, and AWARE is an acronym. The A is for be authentic, be whole, be accountable, responsible, and enlightened, because I think that if Black gay men really deal with those areas of their lives, they would put themselves in a position to be encouraged, and they would bring other people into it. Because I think that we as a Black gay community, we don't have enough things that we do as a whole, and we don't really work as a group. And I think that with Black gay men, that we really need to be more inclusive and collective about everyone.
My childhood was going great. All I had to worry about was running around my neighborhood and being a kid. That's all I had to worry about. Being with my little buddies in our Heidiac. I know you don't know what a Heidiac is. Hell, I don't remember what it is. But everything was going great until the day he came to live with us. He would be my grandfather. And I know most kids think grandfathers are really great because they buy you candy, buy you popcorn, they give you money, but that wasn't my grandfather. See, my grandfather drank a little. Well, my grandfather drank a lot. Hell, my grandfather was a drunk. I mean, a falling down, sloppy drunk. And we had to go visit him. And every time we visited him, it was always in these hole-in-the-wall places that smelled and reeked of alcohol. Oh God, it was awful. And then we had to go visit him when he contracted TB and he was in the hospital. Oh my God. So it was every Sunday afternoon we had to go visit him. So there went my Sundays. And all I had to look forward to was the wonderful world of Disney. Anyway, he came to live with us, and he was always drunk. Every time he came to our house, he was falling down. He was a sloppy drunk. And all the kids in my neighborhood, they were out just laughing, taunting my grandfather. Oh my God, they were just... And you know what? To be honest, if it wasn't my grandfather, I'd have been out there laughing with the rest of them. But you know what? When it's your grandfather, that man is falling down drunk, it's not that funny. In fact, it's a little unsettling. So why couldn't he be like my dad? I mean, why couldn't my granddad be like my father? I mean, my father, he didn't drink, he didn't cuss, he didn't smoke. I mean, my father, he didn't even say the word lie. He would always say that you were telling a story. So that's why it was always a problem with me. I never understood why he couldn't just be more like my father. But he was my grandfather. Just say no. Don't drink and drive. And crack is whack. I remember when I was in high school, alcohol was not a part of my life. And drugs, drugs were the worst. Because if you did drugs just once, you'd become a drug addict or a dope fiend. So I was content with dancing after the football games. So I was on the dance floor dancing and twirling and kicking. I had such a great time. And then I went to this house party and I had my first alcoholic beverage. It was some punch concoction. But I remember I drank it and I liked it. I liked the way it made me feel. And I quickly had these glimpses of my grandfather falling out drunk out of the taxi cabs. But I quickly put that glimpse into my future out of my mind. When I was in middle school, I convinced my parents to rent me a cornet. I said cornet, not a clarinet. Yes, a cornet. It's like a trumpet. So anyway, I was playing the cornet, and everything was going really great because I was planning my trip to Washington, D.C. The trip to D.C., yes, I was a safety patrol. So we were planning our trip to D.C., and I was playing the cornet. But after about 2 months of blowing that thing, I was like, I'm tired of blowing this thing. So I put that up in the closet, and I stopped playing the cornet. Now, how do you think my parents thought about that? Let's just say I didn't tell them. So for the next 2 months, everything was great. I was planning the trip to DC. I was having all my school activities. Everything was wonderful. Until one night, on a trip back from some church function, one of my friends inadvertently told my dad that I had quit the band. And I don't even remember that bitch's name right now, but how do you think my father dealt with it? My father, that wonderful man, my dad was like, he didn't say anything. And I was like, wow, great, what a coup, because I was like the golden child, because you know what? I was going on a trip to Washington, everything was great, until the next morning. That's when my dad informed me that I would not be going on the trip to Washington, D.C. But I had 2 weeks to convince my dad that I was gonna go. I had 2 weeks to work on him. 2 weeks to work on him. So in those 2 weeks, I begged, I pleaded, I gave everything I could. I said, Dad, can I go? Can I go? I even got my mom involved. I got my mom to try to work on my dad so therefore I could go on that trip to Washington. Needless to say, all my pleading, all of my begging, nothing worked. So in a last-ditch effort, the day before the money was due, I tried to look as pitiful as possible. And I stood by our piano and I was like, Dad, tomorrow is the last day before the money's due for the trip to Washington, so I'll need a check. And my dad was like, go to bed, it's past your bedtime, go to bed. And all I could think of, I was just like, and I saw all that Tom Watts shit, and I'm not going on the trip. All I remember was the tears, and I was crying all night. I just and all my dad said was, go to bed, it's past your bedtime. So I went to bed, and my pillow was wet the next morning with bittersweet tears because I wasn't going to Washington.